Okay, folks. Well, I am like you may actually realize how excited I am from my tone, but today's episode has nothing to do with science or oncology or anything. No COVID, no science, nothing. It's all about, I'm going to call it docs who rock or something like that, because I have six amazing physicians who, in addition to being excellent physicians, they actually have an additional talent, which is music. And each one plays a different instrument, and we're going to talk about what got them into music, what type of instrument, how they balance, and you're going to hear some nice tunes from each one of them. Okay, we're going to start now with Shernan. Please just tell us a little bit about you, who you are, but then tell us about the music, how you got interested in music, and then why and what you play.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Sharan Holton. I'm a BMT physician at the University of Minnesota. And if you had met me during my teenage years, I would have told you that, of course, my life is all about music and I was going to be in the music industry. So I used to spend all of my free time writing and producing, recording, just dreaming about music, mostly rock and metal. And then when I got to college, I kind of just lost the spark. It just kind of stayed for fun. But then in more recent pandemic times, my youngest child actually decided that they wanted to play the bass. And so we bought them a bass, and, just watching the joy and watching the fun, the spark kind of came back. And so about 6 months ago, I picked up the bass, and now I'm on a podcast about it.
And so just so you did not play at all until 6 months ago.
Correct.
Wow, fascinating.
So I'm an imposter here.
Okay.
No way.
Vincent, we're going counterclockwise.
So I'm very much like Sharan. I think that I told Priya, my wife, that if I had to do it all over again, I would rather be in a musical career than in medicine. And even now, I threaten to quit and go back to India or something like that and do some musical stuff. So I learned the violin as a kid. That was the Carnatic violin. And then when I was in college, I played the guitar. I played bass for my medical school and also acoustic guitar. And then now, after coming to the US, when my kids started learning piano, I learned with them, although only until my piano teacher fired me because I was not practicing. And then I picked up the electric guitar a few years ago, so I have one, but I'm not very good at it. But my passion throughout has been singing, and so now with a huge amount of Indian friends in the neighborhood, I'm getting back into the groove of singing for them. I like all kinds of music, from Megadeth to classical to Indian film music to Indian Carnatic music. So it's a huge part of my life. I think, like I said, if I had an option, I would switch careers in a heartbeat, but I wouldn't be good at it.
Well, you do. I texted you earlier that we need to talk about this. We're done with myeloma, Vincent, but we're gonna learn more actually about all of this, because I'm very curious into more of the motive behind this. So far, that's a good start. Tara, tell us about you.
Hello, I'm so grateful that I'm here. Thanks for having me here. My name is Tara Rajendran. I'm a physician, classical musician. I play the Saraswati Veena, the national instrument of India, which is a wooden fretted 7-stringed musical instrument. So my story goes back to 1998 when I was 5 years old. My grandmother was ailing with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. She was bedridden with back pain. And I was a toddler running around. And I was really fascinated how a small piece of music coming out of a red, huge Panasonic tape recorder, olden one, that music coming out of it is magically, miraculously reducing my grandmother's pain. And my mother and my uncle, they were both fascinated by classical music at all, but they were never trained in classical music. So in 1998, a couple of months later, my grandmother passed away. And my parents, my mother put me into Indian classical music vocal lessons. And after 2 more years, I was put into Saraswati Veena lessons because my grandmother received the most, I think she was alleviated of stress and anxiety more when she listened to the Veena recordings from the tape recorders. So I was put into that. And then I think once I was in, I started my training in Saraswati Veena. I kind of picked it up fast, and I was fascinated by the music, the sound of it. And then I started playing at these prestigious invited national music festivals. And I think most of my audience consisted of like these elite and esoteric, those who know and aware of these classical musical grammar. And then that was that. And then when I started med school, I did a bachelor's and master's in classical music, but I did not perform I did not give any public performances. But in final year medical school, I confronted physician burnout. And then I took my instrument, played for a while, and music was really cathartic. And then it was I started this advocacy program, Oncology and Strings, and started advocating about how important it is. So I am kind of really privileged to. It's such a privilege to be to be a physician and a musician and kind of understand the science of both of it. And yeah.
But Tara, what instrument are you carrying? This is huge. I don't even know
Yes,
what it's called.
yes. This is the national instrument of India, which is called as Saraswati Veena, Veena. It's a wooden instrument. It is fretted and 7-stringed. And
why?
Yeah, it kind of.
And you chose this because this is like what your grandmother subject, like this is.
So basically, I did not choose it. I was put into the lessons by my parents first. But after that, I formed a fascination towards it because I was too young at that point, like when I was put into musical lessons, 5 or so. So, yeah.
And going back just to Sharan, why did your son choose the bass?
So not son, but child, non-binary. They saw someone on TikTok and fell in love, and yeah, just kind of went from there, just watching the total joy amidst the complete isolation of COVID, right? My kids didn't see another human besides us for about a year.
But in a sense, like if they saw something on TikTok, it wasn't just, they saw something on TikTok and they liked the bass. Before I go to Scarbs, Vincent, what made you like singing? Like what made you wanting to try to sing? And then I'm gonna move to Alan.
Oh yeah, when you grow up in India, you listen to film music a lot, and there are some absolutely amazing singers. What was unique about Indian music in those days was that they would have the same singer sing pretty much every song, because he or she was just so good. There was no point in finding other people. So there were like 3 or 4 people in Hindi, 3 or 4 people in the South who ruled the roost, and everyone wanted to be like them, sound like them.
Wow. Scarbs, tell us about your story.
My name is Alan Scarbneck. I'm an oncologist, I think, as everyone else here. I started playing when I was 4. I started with the Hammond organ, these giant rock organs with bass paddles and everything. They had to put special adapters for me to be able to reach the paddles down there because it was way too short for it. So I got into it because I just saw the organ on a school trip, and I said, I want to learn how to play this giant thing. And then I did, a formal musical training in a conservatory for good 10 years with organ at the time, but focusing on rock organ. I didn't do classic. I went straight to the rock version there. And then I changed to piano and synthesizer. I learned how to synthesize myself. Then I self-taught guitar afterwards. I played saxophone as well. I dabbled the bass as well. So I think once you have a framework, it's easy to transfer from one instrument to another. I don't sing. I'm awful at this. So I think if I did, I wouldn't be in a medical career. I played throughout my whole life. I never stopped. In med school, I was in a band. We toured quite a bit. We played in bars all the time. I'm a songwriter. Had my songs playing the radio in Brazil. I almost dropped. Yeah. Well, not a big one.
Hey, you can't say songwriter and just glance over this.
No, it was a small thing. We weren't professionals. It was a song that was picked up to be a national campaign for a charity program. So you played in the radio because of that, not because it was any good. But I almost dropped out of med school at a point to go pro with my band. We're close to being signed, but fell through, and then we disbanded, and then I think it was a good thing, so I was able to finish med school. But since then I've been playing. I play almost every day, at least one of the instruments that I play in a band for fun now. We rehearse every week. Every couple of months we put a show together, usually something 80s rock themed. I have a little bit of an obsession with that. That's it. It's been a part of my life forever, way before medicine. And in some ways, I think actually music led me to be a doctor. I have a few views on why that happens. And I mean, music is a very common passion amongst physicians. I mean, I think it's more than even other professions. If you look at the percentage of physicians who have an affinity for music, it's pretty high. But that's my story.
And you have a favorite instrument now?
Well, I play a lot of piano, and I love the synthesizer because I love making new sounds. There's a little bit of a science behind that as well. So, that's a cool part of it. So a lot of times I'm just playing around with sounds to make new, different batches and things like that.
The other thing, Alan, you said you self-taught yourself. So how do you self-teach yourself certain instruments? Is it like you just YouTube? Like, how do you do that?
Well, most instruments, the scale is the same. The notes are the same in most Western instruments. They're just laid in a different framework. If you have the keys in front of you, the guitar has the notes on it. As long as you learn that, it's just about picking up the technique afterwards. The frame is the same. It's music. So it's a little bit harder than being taught by someone. But I think that once you have the background, it makes it easier. Vincent as well plays a lot of instruments, as you mentioned. It makes it easier to pick one after one fairly well. And I think if you start learning when you were a child, all the neuroplasticity that comes with it makes it so much easier to pick up languages in general, not only music. I mean, like some of us here are bilingual or trilingual. I don't know. It's easier to pick other languages by learning music as well, because it kind of opens up that space.
Aaron, what's your story? You definitely have the hairdo of a rock star.
Yeah, so I'm a bone marrow transplant physician at UCSD in San Diego. When I grew up, my parents had a big grand piano in the house. My dad never played, but he had it. He liked how it looked, and I would bang around on it constantly. My brother did not, and I had lessons. I learned basic classical piano when I started. I think I was age 4 or 5. Learned how to read music, and I was into classical music, and then I kind of stopped. Let that go. And in 3rd grade, there was a school band, and I picked up the cello, which, having already known how to read music, wasn't too bad, but at that point in time, I was into, early 90s rock, Nirvana, Alice in Chains. And I was taking the cello and I was holding it like a guitar and learning Smells Like Teen Spirit on it. And my dad was like, why don't you just learn guitar? So we went out and bought me an acoustic guitar, which I still have to this day. And I fell in love with the guitar. I would play hours every day, literally till my fingers bled from playing with the guitar and learning new songs and learning all my favorite stuff. And then from high school and on, I've been in bands kind of every step of the way. We were in basically a cover band in high school. We played around, occasionally snuck into bars and played. In college, I was in a band where we Kill It Now. That was our album. We wrote and produced an album. It was a pretty heavy rock album where we paid some guy a couple $100 and locked ourselves in a recording studio for 48 hours straight. I think we had a 30 pack of Busch Light, and we basically wrote all the songs and recorded an album that sold. Yeah, we probably had 500 people buy it. It was maybe on local college radio. And then in med school, I was in another band. The Kumanid Hostages is what we were called. And we played around live. And then in a fellowship, not in a band in fellowship, actually, I still played a lot. And then now I'm still playing. My neighbor during COVID, he plays guitar, and every day during COVID, we would play on the block, and we've learned like 50 songs and are playing around in San Diego. So music's been very important. And at one point, I think like some of the other physicians here, I did consider a career in music back in college when we were writing our album. My dad's like, you can't be a musician and a physician, but you can be a physician and a musician, which was, I think, good advice. I think it's pretty hard to make it in the music industry. So I feel like I'm both. And I still play one of my instruments at least every day, probably 30 minutes, if not more. And I still try to, I'm pretty, I don't know, I'd say anal, kind of like how when I learned hematology, I pick something and whether it's a new scale or a type of music, and I learn it till I learn it and kind of master it.
Did you take professional lessons?
I took piano, and that helped a lot. The piano, for those who play, so I play piano, bass, guitar, and drums, and I guess cello, although I haven't picked that up in forever. The piano really helped me learn music and music theory. The piano, the way it's laid out on the keys, you can clearly see, music's math, it's intervals. And if you understand the intervals of the chords, basically the distance between each note, you can kind of figure out, and there's some basic rules for chord construction and music theory. And I bought a book, I read it. And when you know the piano, that made me conceptualize. And I still think when I play guitar, basically in piano, and that allowed me to then go to the guitar and apply some of those principles. So it kind of all fed. So I did take lessons, but a lot of it's been learning on my own. And now with YouTube and the internet, I mean, it's amazing. You can type in, any random song you want, and there's some guitarist that's made a YouTube lesson that walks you through it. And I also, for some of the stuff that I play, I just sit there and listen. I would listen to Led Zeppelin 1 through 4, hours a day to try to decipher some of the notes that he was playing before the internet. Now I use the internet, it's easier.
Well, Vincent is nodding because one of the things that Vincent was mentioning, which is I find fascinating, and I'm curious what you all think. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vincent, but you could listen to very heavy stuff like Metallica, and then you listen to very soft, romantic or whatever stuff. So you have such a broad range, even when you play. Is this rather typical that you could play the hard rock as well as something soft?
I don't know about playing, but for listening, certainly, depending on the mood and what you want to hear.
What gets you into a Metallica mood?
Well, before I go and give a lecture, I'll probably be playing Megadeth in my head. So, go get them. And that's what you want. You want to be like, upbeat and, no one, the stuff, you're going to go and give it to them and teach people what they need to know.
I like that.
You get that in that mood. And then, when you are driving, you can listen depending on the week, the day. I really genuinely enjoy. I have more than 50,000 songs on my iTunes library. And
50,000.
And I just listen to, whatever I feel like for like weeks on end and then switch.
That's amazing. Tara, you mentioned, I want to talk to you about this, and then I want to talk to Sharon as well about it, because Sharon started 6 months ago around COVID, and you know, COVID brought a lot of not only burnout, but a lot of mental issues for all of us. But you specifically started this and you elaborate on the burnout and how this actually could help. Do you, can you just tell us a little about this? I mean, have you seen, like, have you have anything to measure how your music or what you've done had an impact subsequently on reducing burnout or whatever it is? And
So scientifically, I haven't measured like as a clinical trial or something. I haven't measured the impact of how much music is going to reduce the anxiety and all of that by myself. But if we look into the peer-reviewed articles in PubMed or any other database, you can see plenty of researches that mainly started after a 1999 paper by Dr. Blood et al. And that said how music has an emotional impact and how amygdala's dysfunction partly causes the anxiety, depression, and all of that. So music also has, is modulating the amygdala's activity. So that might be one of the reasons. And after that, there has been a surge in number of articles in particular to music therapy research and also incorporating music into the clinical infrastructure. So in India, that's kind of, I mean, India is delaying 60 years behind US or any other country which has an established music therapy as an established music therapy profession. So that's why I started the advocacy series, right? So in the advocacy series, I'm doing a lot of lecture concerts. So after the concerts, the attendees, be it cancer patients or physicians even, they come back to medical students. They come back to me saying that, when you were playing, I felt really good. It was really calming and soothing. I was going through so there was one particular patient and one particular student as well. They were going through a really tough time the entire day, and my concert was in the evening, and they felt really good. And then they asked me for more music, and I gave them. So I think this anecdotes happen like after every concert or every concert. So that's kind of so all I have right now is anecdotal evidences, but yes, I mean I haven't done a study by myself.
When you're having a bad day or you're overwhelmed with something, what's your go-to tune that you want us to hear? And let us hear it.
Sure. I think I will go to this tune / mode or raga called Hamsanadam. So I'll play it out.
Wow. Wow.
Thank
really,
you.
really, I mean, music is really just it's a universal language, right? I mean, I'm not Indian, but I could totally relate to what you're saying. Sharan, I know that you don't have you don't have the actual instrument. Is there so we can't obviously hear now, but we're gonna, listeners will be able to hear is there a go-to song or tune that is, I don't know, when you're having a bad day that you go to? Vincent has to get ready because we have to hear him sing. of something when he's really in a bad mood.
Absolutely. Music is so therapeutic. And after a long day, I honestly love to sit down with my headphones and plug in and play a whole bunch of 6 to 7 minute Iron Maiden songs. Just those long ballads or rocking songs. It's just super fun to escape into Iron Maiden. That's my go-to right now.
Vincent, what's your go-to song and what's your go-to thing when you're in those, somber modes, if you will?
There's so much stuff. I don't know exactly, what to say, but I could sing a few lines provided you promise me that you're not going to air this.
No, we are airing this. What do you mean? I'm not. Well, we're gonna air it.
Well, you won't air my singing. You can play.
No. We're airing. No. I'm not. This is how we're gonna get a record label, Vincent. Go ahead.
कुछ ना कहो, कुछ भी ना कहो, क्या कहना है, क्या सुनना है, मुझको पता है, तुमको पता है, सामने का ये पल थम सा गया है और इस पल में कोई नहीं है, बस एक मैं हूँ, बस एक तुम हो, कुछ ना कहो, कुछ भी ना कहो.
Carbs, let us hear maybe something that you really go to usually when you're in that. We all go into those modes except for Aaron. Aaron is always in a very delightful mode. I can't get him to feel somber, but give us your go-to thing. And
I usually like some big piano songs. I love Queen. Don't Stop Me Now. It's a good go-to song.
Yeah, that was really good. And this is just one of the instruments that you actually do. Aaron, So you are in one of those, like, you need to chill. Let's hear from you. Let's try to see if we can hear something from you on Zoom.
Well, chill. I mean, we do play some Fish occasionally, but usually I'm into Led Zeppelin. So when I come
You
home,
choose.
okay.
When you come home and your wife is meditating.
So a little Zeppelin. Little slow blues.
So you play almost every day, it seems like. I mean, all of you try to play every day.
So you were asking a question, Chaddy. I remember you said like you listen to various types of music. Playing is very different. To be really good at it, it's different skill sets. Um, so you usually can only be good at one narrow field. Pretty hard to be at a very high level in multiple instruments
So what
or multiple genres.
what does music, I mean, music is an essential part of each one of your lives. I mean, it seems to me that I mean, most people, listen to music on the radio or they watch it on TV and move on, but you take it to the extra level. Why is that? Is it just, what does music mean to your life, Tara?
I think self-expression. It helps me express myself better, and I think it's music is my both like music and writing, both of them, particularly music is my sacred sanctum, sacred refuge. Whenever I am in a despondent state, I go back to music. As I said, for during med school, I had a 4-year span where I was just doing my med school and academic music, my bachelor's and master's. So I did not play music, but when I think it was an OBGYN rotation, I was going through severe physician burnout. And when I took my instrument for 5 minutes after years, and I played for like 5 minutes, I felt there was a lump in my throat before. And then when I played for 5 minutes, it kind of melted away. So yeah, I mean, I would just say it was really cathartic and self-expression and also finding myself. I think through my creative expression, I find myself and I identify myself in with more accuracy and clarity.
So Vincent, there's something I know about you that's rather fascinating, and I think listeners ought to know about this, because you do, when you sing, you sing Hindi sometimes, and you don't speak the language. I find this fascinating, to be able to sing in a language that you don't speak it. Can you tell us a little bit how this come about?
Oh, basically because I grew up in the South, Hindi was not taught there, and I didn't know Hindi. And then when I moved here to the US, most of my friends were Hindi speaking. So they wouldn't actually identify with the songs in Tamil that I could sing. So you, out of necessity, start learning how to, sing some of these songs which you don't understand the language. It's quite different. It's very different from Tamil, and I don't think I can get the pronunciations right. So even the clip that I sent you, I'm sure if somebody who speaks Hindi listens to it, they might find that I'm not pronouncing certain words correctly.
और इस पल में कोई नहीं है, बस एक मैं हूँ, बस एक तुम हो, कुछ ना कहो, कुछ भी ना कहो.
And I do the same thing with other Indian languages. But like I said, the genres are so different that I can speak English well, but it's pretty hard to sing in English. I mean, you can sing like church songs, but not rock songs, because that's a whole different way of singing that is very difficult, even if you're able to sing a more difficult Indian song well. It's different skill sets. It takes hours of experience, hours of practice to be able to even hear yourself and say, okay, that sounds okay.
Alan, do you sing when you play or you just play?
I think no one better hear it when I sing. I sing when I'm by myself. I play mostly, you know, and it's. I think it has so many meanings to me. And I mean, as Tara's saying about self-expression, I think, you know, in medicine we all try. There's a mold expectation in medicine, a way to behave in medicine that's expected. For most people, particularly in Brazil, the education in medicine, it's very hierarchical, strict, and it's inside a box. And I think that playing music lets, you know, you open other creative paths that sometimes, especially in training, you're unable to pursue on your day to day. And by that, I mean, in the same way that it suits patients, it makes at least me happy when I play music. And it certainly decreases risk of burnout. And I think any hobby, anything that makes a physician happier, makes them a better physician, because you increase your empathy. You know, you can relate more to people. I do have a number of patients who actually came to see me because they saw that I play music, you know, and they came, you know what, I want to see you as an oncologist because I thought it would be easier to communicate because, you know, I see you as a person. So I think there are so many ways, not only for my own personal, you know, building, but I think it helps out, at least in my day-to-day profession, to play music, and it made a lot of difference. And I think, you know, music, as I said before, music in a way led me to medicine, because there's so much discipline that goes into learning an instrument, and, you know, you really have to put yourself into it. And those are abilities that you easily translate to an academic level and being able to learn medicine. And at the end of the day, you know, we play music to touch other people as well, in a way, help other people. I mean, everyone likes music. Everyone feels something when they hear something. And I think it correlates a lot with medicine, with the same principles, you know. Even in antiquity, if you see Apollo was the god of medicine and music. In Greece, for instance, it's like predates all of us.
Do you all maybe, I mean, Sharon, and then do you all, maybe you can take this question. Do you play what you listen to? Like, are they related? What you play is what you like to listen to, or they're not necessarily related?
Yeah, for me, completely. It's what I like. It's what's already in my DNA from my youth to a degree, right? So, you know, those songs become a part of you, and it's natural to play them because you don't have to think about it. What's fun is you can kind of put aside your thinking mind and just feel for a moment and just let it happen, and you know what to expect, you know where it's going, and the sounds, the chords, the progressions, they feel like home, and so it's a great place to escape for a while.
There's something I learned about you I did not know, but as I was preparing for this, I was looking at some of your Twitter feeds, and I realized you also lift weights. You're like a power lifter. I
am. I sure am.
So what do you listen to, if you do, when you're doing that? I presume it's something different, maybe.
It is. So
because,
like
you know what we're gonna
Aaron
do?
Knows.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna have Aaron play for you the tune that you would be listening to when you're powerlifting.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I do. That's another, you know, we all have to have habits that keep us sane, especially right now, you know, during these times. So I do indeed enjoy picking up heavy objects and putting them down. And the things I listen to for a big heavy lift is going to be some like obnoxious, ridiculous punk or metal, just, you know, something that just gets your blood pressure sky high.
And who's better than Aaron Goodman to have something obnoxious, heavy metal? Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, that you're putting me on the spot. I don't know what
on the
type of heavy
spot.
metal shit.
Sharon is powerlifting right now, and she.
There we are.
I don't know how well that comes through on the Zoom.
We heard it. Sounds great.
So would you, I'm curious, I'm going to come back to you, Tara, but I'm curious, Vincent said something earlier on, and I'm going to ask the same question for everyone, but like, you know, we joke around sometimes, like I would quit and do this and do that and do this. Who's really serious about this? Like, Vincent, would you, wow.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, tell
absolutely.
me, I'm so curious about this. Go ahead. Each one has to answer this one because this fascinates me. Go ahead, Vincent.
No, I have seriously thought about it. I've actually told my wife, like, what do you think if I just suddenly, like, 3 years from now, hang it up? Because the passion is there. And even if I don't make it at all, which I don't think I will, I have like a 1 in 1,000 chance of actually doing anything with it. It's just the process of becoming better, the process of applying yourself to this art and trying to be better and better and better is enough satisfaction for the rest of my life.
Isn't that amazing? We all probably would want to do something different. Like, I mean, I'll tell you about mine in a little bit. Aaron, you would quit too?
Yeah, my wife's gonna kill me. I would quit. She's a physician, so if I could make a living, and the music is. I mean, I love music. I love medicine, and I the way the others said, I think hematology or medicine and music are similar in the fact that there's an endless amount of information and knowledge to ascertain, and you're never going to get bored. And there's creativity in both fields. The music's just a little less stressful. If I screw up on stage, someone from the audience will come up and have a beer with me. It's a little bit different in medicine. And I love medicine, but there's plenty of things I don't like about medicine. And if I could have a fulfilling life doing music and, support my family and all that, I would do it in a second. It's just very hard to do that.
Well, you certainly have the hairdo for it. So let's see what you could do with that.
Yeah. Well, now the hair, it's COVID. I don't go to haircutters anymore.
Sharon, you would quit too?
I absolutely would. Yeah. I mean, music was my life from a young age. I love the process of writing and creating. Like Alan making new sounds with synthesizers. I mean, that's all I did when I was a kid. And it's just such a joy and it's such a fun process, but it can be stressful and hard too. I found in my, adult life that writing a paper or a grant is not that different from writing a song. You fall in love with a piece of it. And then you're like, this is going to be amazing. And you sit down and you've got that little piece. And now you realize you have to add the rest of it. And then it's just like the hard crap, this part sucks, filling in the blanks for the rest of the song.
Alan?
Yeah, I would. And I will have a plan. At some point, I will stop being doctor and I'm going to open a restaurant where I'm going to play. And serve my beer in the restaurant and cook and play. I think that's it's in the process. It's going to be called the Juzillion. I have a name already for it. It's going to be a Jewish Brazilian fusion restaurant with music. But anyway, I mean, I think there are parts of being a musician that can be very stressful. I would love 20 years ago to have been a rock star, not today. If I quit and play music, will be something chill, for people to come, enjoy, covers even, and then, just make a comfortable living out of it. It's fine. I think at that point, medicine is stressful enough. I would not want to have the stress of the music industry on it. So if I made that transition, it would be for something just more relaxing. Don't need to be super famous, but you'll be fun. It will happen. Give me 10 years.
Tara, would you quit?
So honestly, I haven't started a profession as a physician. So I did my med school graduation and I'm right now pursuing a PhD in classical music. So, I mean, I had an option of, taking this PhD sabbatical, post-residency or post-fellowship. So I took it like right now because I thought this would be the right time. So I don't think I'm experienced enough to comment on this, but I think except for the 4 years of med school where I did not play music, all other years I was playing, I was recording. But I think, at least I can speak for myself and my instrument, I think it's a little competitive to be that leading, that a super earning celebrity musician, at least like in India in this instrument. So I find it challenging. So I think I would try to, I mean, obviously I don't have as much experience as all of you here, but I think at the moment, what I'm trying to think is, going, taking both music and oncology like side by side. That's what I'm thinking. I wouldn't quit. Maybe.
Yeah. Tara, let's hear another tune from you when you're in when you want to do uplifting, like a happy mode.
Okay.
The first one was
so,
a little from the somber way.
Yeah, so I'll do something. Yeah, so I'm going to play this rag called Kalyani, which in Western classical music is Lydian mode.
What was it? Was called a Lydian mode?
Yes, so there are no, I mean, I don't know whether this is the exact, but this is the best I can pull off, analogy I can pull off, yeah. Lydian.
Yeah, well, it's like a augmented fourth on a major scale, pretty much.
Yes.
I'm not sure, actually, I found it in Wikipedia. Vincent, is that correct?
Yeah, because that's interesting because it's a very bright scale. I mean, that's the brightest, happier mode of scales in Western music.
It's a major scale with the
fourth augmented. Yeah. So yeah, it translates very well. I mean, I think it's very similar.
I literally have no idea.
I found it in Wikipedia.
I literally have no idea what they're talking about as a whole. What I have no clue. Sharan, what are they talking about?
There are scales when you play music. There are chords and scales that sound more somber. Probably that'll be the best way to put it. And there's someone that sound brighter. Actually, there's this Dutch scientist who developed a happiness index scale on music, and what's the kind of the combination that make people happier when hearing music. It's based on timbre, keys, and tempo. It's pretty interesting.
Tara is gonna play in your restaurant, but it's gonna cost you. It's not gonna be free.
I'll pay.
Yeah. So Ellen,
thank you, Ellen.
Let's talk about favorite musicians a little bit. Well, two things. If you think about somebody, whether it's like can you think of someone, doesn't have to be even a celebrity or musician, but someone that influenced you to have that musician part in your life? If you go back and you look back, like, okay, this is why this happened in my life as a musician. Can you think of who that person is and how did this happen?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of influences. I love Elton John. I think when I was a kid, it was kind of in the 80s. He was kind of coming out of a dark patch, and his songs were pretty uplifting at that point. Same time, Billy Joel. So, it was something that was playing a lot on piano. I like Raymond Zarek from The Doors. I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan. After 3 kids, I finally convinced my wife to put my last kid middle name as Jagger. So victory. I love Queen. I love The Police, Dire Straits. I mean, I have so many different influences. It's hard to pinpoint. I think on piano, I think probably Elton John, Billy Joel, Rick Wakeman from Yes, John Lord from Deep Purple. When I played rock organ back in the day, those were the people I tried to emulate the most. Even Led Zeppelin has a lot of key-based songs. Their bass player actually is a fantastic keyboardist as well. So I can't pinpoint one. I listen to everything. I listen to classic too.
Is your family supportive? Like, do you feel like they get annoyed with you playing and all this, or you feel they're more encouraging? I mean, do you feel
my parents or my current family?
Your current family.
My wife knows very well that this is a part of my life, and if I stop, I will not be in a good place. My kids love it. I have convinced my kids to love Van Halen. So their favorite song is Jump. They always ask me to play on the keys. So yeah, they're very supportive. They know that I need that piece. They know I need to build Legos and cook and grill and play music, and they're supportive of that.
I have no idea how you ended up being an oncologist. The more I listen to you, like you need to talk about having a rock band. Sharan,
Alan, can I just say something
Yeah.
to Alan? Since he likes Elton John, I'm going to send you, if you haven't heard already, Elton John singing "Bridge Over Troubled Water."
Oh, that'll be great.
That
Yeah.
was before he became Elton John.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, wow. Sharan, who influenced your love to music? Doesn't have to be a musician. Could be, I don't know, could be a family member, could be a friend, but
Sure.
anyone?
Yeah, my parents, we always had music going in the house, on the record player. The first album that I memorized front to back was Rumors, Fleetwood Mac. Total classic, amazing album. But my personal tastes were a bit more glam and kind of out there. The first record that I bought with my own money was Patti Smythe, The Warrior. Anyone remember
Yeah.
this?
I am the warrior.
So
Yeah,
much
that's
fun. Yes, so
That's
much
a good.
eyeshadow.
That's a good. Yeah.
I love it.
How much of the love to music is knowing the words versus the tunes? In other words, do you have to really know the words and what they are saying and the meanings of the word, or are you drawn to the actual tune?
For me, it's 90% music, 10% words. A lot of time I don't even really listen to the words, except to say, the music clip that I sent you is very meaningful right now. That has lyrics that really resonate currently. So when you play that for the audience, hopefully they'll read the lyrics too.
Vincent, music or words?
Hey, I already told you exactly the same word by word what Sharan just said. This guy asked me on the phone, and I said to him the same thing. It's 90% music, 10% words. And
We have to go on the record.
in a crazy
We're going on the record. That's why I asked you again. Alan, music or words?
It's a combination, to be sincere. I think, there are songs that gain from the words a lot. And there are songs where the words don't matter at all because the tune itself is fantastic. There's a variability. I mean, I connect more to the sounds. I mean, when I listened when I was a kid to all those American, British rock bands. I had no idea what they were saying. I did not speak English. I actually learned to speak English via music and watching Friends on TV. But
I learned from Seinfeld.
Yeah, and Seinfeld too. I mean, it's so in a way, and I was connected to the music, so I never understood what they were saying. But I would say that at the point that I did understand what they were saying, I connected better with some songs. So it is a combination, but yeah, mostly the music itself, not the words.
Aaron, music or words or both, but which one is more important?
It's funny because like when my wife and I listen to a lot of similar music, and I'll try to sing along, and like I make up the words because I don't remember the words. She makes fun of me, and she knows the words. She's a brilliant writer, and and she knows the words by heart. And then so I'm basically listening. And for me, it's a lot of the guitar, and I'm listening to that. I'm listening for intervals, and I can remember. I feel like I can play the song in my head after I hear it a few times, and then I can go figure it out on guitar. So the music for me. You didn't ask me my influences, so I'll ask.
Yeah, go
myself.
ahead. Yeah,
so,
same. Yeah, I'm moving on. Yeah.
I grew up. The Beatles. I mean, that's what got me into music. My dad played them, so he had all the records. I played on his phonograph, his record machine, all the Beatles albums, and that's what really got me into music. And then the first album I bought was Nirvana, Nevermind, and then I was into. So a lot of my idols growing up, they weren't me. They had troubled lives, and I actually connected with their music and their words, especially in middle school and high school. So and my favorite guitarist is definitely Jimmy Page. Like Alan, my third child's middle name is Page, Page. My wife allowed that one for me. She doesn't like the name though, so she always yells at me. But she'll hopefully, when she's a little bit older, will like it.
That's amazing, Vincent. Influencers.
Well, I grew up in India, so we listened when I was growing up. It was Indian film music. That's what got me into music. And there are just some amazing composers, amazing singers. I can't tell you how much joy they have brought me. Specific ones, I think probably the person who has influenced me the most is a singer called S.P. Balasubramaniam. He is the Guinness Book of World Record holder for the most number of recordings, vocal recordings, probably like 50,000. Absolutely amazing singer. He died last year. I was very fortunate to become his friend for the last several years as well, so it was very hard to have him pass. There's a music composer in India called Ely Raja who's just amazing. I mean, for those of you who know music, you will understand what I'm saying. This guy composes in 15-20 minutes a song without keyboards, without guitar, just pen and paper, writes it out, all the parts, sends it to its team to basically figure out what he wants them to do, and then they record. The whole song is recorded 7-1, so he composes in half hour, and by 1 o'clock they finish the recording and they move on to the next song. That's 2 songs a day, day after day, year after year, for 30 years or something like that. And it's like Mozart, no errors, no corrections, just write the whole song, all parts, straight from head to paper. So those people influenced me a lot. And then when I came here, of course, I mean, and even before I came here, big fan of Elton John, big fan of Billy Joel, Eric Clapton, Garth Brooks. Of course, then I got into Megadeth a lot. I know almost all their songs. I have most of their records. Rust in Peace. Man, what an album.
I'm gonna be listening to Megadeth today.
And then, of course, classical music, because it's everything. I mean, Mozart. There's no one like him, and I listen to Mozart a lot. And so you just go through these phases, and everyone influences you.
Yeah, that is really, really, really amazing. Tara, influencers. I think you told us a little bit about the history, and then music or words.
Music all the way. While Western classical music is based in harmony, Indian classical music is heavily based on melodies, so slash modes. So we have around thousands of modes here. So my influences in music would be not persons, but rather persons too. But I think it would be mostly on these modes slash tunes slash melodies, whatever that's called as. So in Indian classical music, so there is what we say is these ragas can make can emulate an emotion in you. So I can demonstrate it here. So for example, so this is a very it's something that emulates sadness or pathos. So I hope no one felt uplifted after listening to this. So another one is Brindavani, which is very romantic. Chaliye kunjan ho tum hum mile sham hari 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 chaliye 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 kunjan ho sham hari. So this is a slightly romantic, slightly joyous mode. So I prefer music based on these modes. And if I listen to something, oh my God, this is something so good, and I have to play it, and I play it. So that's how I work.
You know, it's interesting because Vincent was alluding. I was talking to him on the phone a couple of days ago, and he was telling me exactly what Sharan and he just said, that it's really 90% plus music. And to me, it's the opposite. Like, I have to understand the word, like I have to know what they're saying and what they're talking about. So I find this honestly fascinating. I'm not a musician. I haven't played ever any instrument, was never talented enough. So I wonder if musicians that play instruments feel differently than the lay public. Like for me as a lay person, like I need to understand the meanings. What are they really talking about? What are they saying to get into the song, which is clearly not the case here, and you're the experts. But Aaron, you said something rather interesting. You said sometimes you have a tune, you like the tune, and you could just put whatever words on that tune. Like you can make up stuff for that tune if you like the tune. You can put words of your own into that tune, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of just help with the timing, the spacing, the words to fill it in, and helps, like when I'm playing a guitar, I'm thinking usually of I don't know what they're singing exactly. I mean, I have a rough idea of the words.
Can you give us an example? Can you play something really quick and put your words in it?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm a backup singer in the band. I don't do the lead vocals. So
you're a backup singer.
No, but that's an interesting point, Chadi, that you're saying, because that is the language that you clearly understand. And music is a language, and there's, as Aaron said before, there's math involved in it. I mean, lots of times I can hear a song that I never heard before, and I know what the next chord is going to be, as they're playing, because there's a sensing to it, and and that's, I know how. Perhaps how our brain processes it different. How the phrase is going to end. You have the expectation. And to be sincere, the songs I like the most is the one that surprised me in a different way, that I'm expecting something and then they go in a completely different direction. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is genius, because they didn't go where it was expected. But everyone has a connection to music that's different. It's based on memory, emotion, and processing of the language itself. And to you is the words. So as I know we've been very generous with the time. Sure, go ahead, Sharon, you're going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree, Alan. There's something about the brain processing, and I appreciate this call so much because, it's really fun to find kindred spirits who receive and generate music in a similar way. It was really special, earlier in the difficult times of COVID, watching my youngest child obviously experience music differently than, my husband and son. And so I was like, wow, there is something there.
How old? What's the age different? Like, what's the age?
Yeah, they're 11 and my son is 13. So my husband and son, not musically inclined, but enjoy music, right? They like music. But my youngest and I, like, we live music. It's a part of our DNA. And I can tell, like, when certain songs came on, the electricity in the air, the sparkle in the eye, it's a really fun thing to see someone just completely get assimilated into a song that way.
So as we're probably finishing up, I want to make sure we finish up with it with a bang. And I think Tara and Aaron have their instruments ready. They're going to actually each one play a tune. Alan, I think yours was a little bit farther, so we weren't able to.
Do you want to, Aaron? Do you want to play some Trampled Underfoot?
I don't know that song.
Oh, it's a Led Zeppelin song. I was going to do it for you.
Yeah, I don't know all the Led Zeppelin.
Before we do that, or maybe also Alan will do that, I guess one of the things I'm curious about, since you are all musicians at heart and you follow music, we're in 2021. Can you provide an assessment about the music industry in 2020, 2021, compared to the 80s, 90s, and so on? I mean, you mentioned Billy Joel, Elton John, Led Zeppelin, Metallica, Megadeth. I haven't heard anything contemporary. Like, I haven't heard anyone mention anything of the singers here. So again, as a host, as a listener, I'm struck a little bit by this, because do you feel the music industry has changed to the worse? Like, no, not the same? We'll start by Alan and then move on with the same question.
Well, I mean, again, it's not a change. It changed a lot of music industry now. It's image and more superficial. Not across the board. They're fantastic musicians, very talented people, but access to music is more broad today because of Spotify and all the streaming platforms. You don't need to buy the album and anything. So there are financial differences than what it was back in the day. But music connection is memory. I mean, it has to trigger an emotion in you for you to feel attached to it. And the driver of stronger emotions is what I experienced in my childhood, in my youth, rather than what I'm experiencing now.
Can you name a contemporary musician today that you think he or she is a good musician or a fantastic musician?
I think Chris Martin from Coldplay. It's a great musician. I mean, it's a band that's around for 20 years, so I still have some connection from like med school years there. But not really, not in the sense that I appreciate everything, and I may not know them, to be sincere, because when I turn on music to hear, I usually go for something that kind of is older.
Vincent, so how do you think the music industry is doing right now?
So first of all, I think if you're talking talent, virtuosity, and there's amazing musicians everywhere. You just have to put on YouTube. I mean, the place is just full of extraordinarily talented people and extraordinarily diverse amount of music out there. Like Alan said, if I'm mentioning older artists, it's mainly because I'm old, and that is the music I grew up with and the emotional bond. But today, I listen to and admire so many different artists that my kids play on the car stereo when we are driving together. But I probably don't know the exact name of which song is sung by whom, So, you just know J. Cole, but you don't know exactly which song is J. Cole's, like that.
Sharan, assessment of the music industry today?
Yeah, there is so much out there, and honestly, Spotify has been really wonderful. I'll start with a song for whatever mood I'm in and then just let it go. And sometimes you'll hear new music, new artists, and then be able to hit like, and all of a sudden you have a great playlist. But do the contemporary songs hit me like they did back in the 80s and 90s? Not necessarily. So you're right, they evoke a different set of feelings, emotions, a rawness to some of the earlier music from my childhood that's just kind of not present for me in music today.
Right. But if
Aaron?
you thought about it, Sharan, that from a pure, like, if you suddenly say, okay, I'm going to listen to it and analyze it, from whether the chord usage or the type of meter that they're using or the virtuosity, you could find amazing stuff
Oh yeah,
every day. I mean,
Absolutely.
and be blown
absolutely.
away.
Definitely.
Aaron, do you even play for anyone contemporary? Can you think of a musician that you like nowadays, not from the
Yeah,
80s
well,
or 90s?
yeah, well, how it's changed is, I mean, at least in the 90s, I'd buy an album and I'd listen to the album straight through and really get to know the music. And that's how I thought of the bands I liked. I think it's a little different today. You can just pick and choose your songs and maybe connect as well with the artist. But contemporary, I love Beck. He's still, granted, these are people that were around when I was a kid. And I think Beck is still writing great music and an awesome musician. Radiohead, they're still contemporary, although their music's changed quite a bit. And my daughters, they listen to Taylor Swift, and I like Taylor Swift. I'm not, sitting by myself listening to them, but I respect, she writes most of her music, plays a lot of the instruments. For me, if I like that, I like artists to write their own music and then play their instruments. And usually I can, and as the others have said, the talent's definitely still there. It's changed. There's so much talent. I mean, you can go to any random bar and like, I see these people, I'm like, they're freaking unreal. And like, there they are playing in Pacific Beach, San Diego to like 10 people. So the talent's definitely still there. It's just changed kind of how we consume music.
Tara, I'm not very familiar with the Indian music, but certainly I've enjoyed listening to sometimes some of the movies that I've watched without understanding the language. Do you feel that because you live there, the Indian music in 2020, 2021 is also different than 20 years ago?
Absolutely, because I think particularly in India, classical music was a bit more conservative, and if someone does fusion, even in early or late 90s, people used to frown and look down upon them. But then I think nowadays, I think it's also because of the digital literacy and accessibility. I think everyone is a musician, and if I want to make a music or something, I can just put it out there or something like that. So accessibility is more, and also because of that, I think people are communicating from I think musicians from different genres are communicating over these social media platforms and collaborating. So it's more experimenting, and it's more I think innovative and all of that with respect to Indian classical music. And there is a lot of indie artists coming up, so that's brilliant. I think the latest Grammy nomination, they were Indians, Indian independent artists, so that's great. But I think recently there is this Hindustani classical musician, he's my age, in fact, Muhammad Aman. When he recently sang a particular, it's a completely classical music, it's the traditional classical Indian music, and I got goosebumps, and I literally cried, not just once, like every time he plays Mek Malhar, I cry. So it's just, there are fantastic artists like
Are you able to play a segment from the one that made you cry?
Oh, wow. I'm not sure if I could reciprocate it, but I can play, because that's a different classical music, North Indian, but I can play an analogous scale in South Indian classical music.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
which is Amrita Varshini. Yes, which is called as Shar of Elixir.
That's really amazing. And you know, I think we have a band, by the way, forming right here. We have the lead singer is Vincent, actually. He's the lead singer. Well, you are the
Yes.
singer. We have a piano player. We have, I don't know the name of the instrument. I don't know what to say. What's the instrument? We have a guitar, the bass. We have everybody. First of all, because Aaron is going to take us out of the episode. So you're going to be ready, Aaron. You have to get ready for like an exit tune. I just really want to, I hope listeners.
I will play the 4 chords that changed my life.
Okay, as we exit, but basically I want to first thank you really for taking time to be here. I would love to do this more often, to be honest. I like to show different faces of the physicians. I think oftentimes, you know, there's another side of us that occasionally listeners don't know, and they see us when we talk about medicine and science, which is great, but I do think the human element of all of us really brings a lot of value to listeners, to patients, and so on. And I think sometimes that's missing. So I want to do more of these over the next year, and I would love to have you again on this. Let's see, hopefully, how things go. So thank you so much for everyone for being with us. And Aaron, take us out. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. And just until next time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.